Kelly here, and I'm back with another video. Today's video is going to be featuring some products from Spellbinders. I really didn't know how they were all going to come together, so I just pulled out a bunch of my 3D embossing folders, regular embossing folders. I also pulled out some Betterpress items that I hadn't had a chance to use yet. And then I pulled out some Glimmer hot foil plates as well. And before we get too far into it, just FYI, Spellbinders having a huge pre-summer sale, and so like some of their embossing folders are down to like $3. The ones that I used today are all down to like $7.50. Betterpress things are on sale. The Betterpress itself is on sale. So just lots of things on sale. So first, I wanted to start with, because I don't use my Betterpress all of the time, okay? So in order to get a feel for how I needed, like how I was going to experiment with different things, I decided I was going to do one just as how they instructed. So I am using some porcelain cotton panels from Spellbinders with their ink and a Betterpress plate. With that said, I will tell you, this isn't something that you necessarily need. You don't need the Betterpress system, but it is pretty much no fail. Now, the problem that I run into, because I am a colorist, is with the inks that Spellbinders recommends, you cannot Copic color. So I found actually a little workaround in my experimentation with that, but I have not experimented with inking up the Betterpress plates with like alcohol ink safe ink. So that is something that I still need to experiment with. But anywho, so then the platen is magnetic. You tape your paper, you flip it over, you run it through on the platen, and you get stunning results every time. So, but you can use Betterpress plates to foil, but you cannot use gold hot foil plates to Betterpress. However, you can use them to letterpress, which is basically the same thing. And so I messed around a bunch of different ways because I didn't want to ruin the warranty on my Betterpress by using the Betterpress. So I started looking at the different things that I had in my craft room so that I could maybe get a good result. So here's the first thing that I tried. The first thing that I tried was doing and I have the universal plate system, so keep that in mind. A is the base, B is the thinner top portion, and then I put down E, which is actually their embossing mat. You may have that. They sold it for years before they had the universal plate system, so you may have one of those already. Then I laid down my paper. This is still the porcelain, cotton panels. I inked up my plate. I picked it up very carefully, and I flipped it over to lay on top of my paper. Now, this is a little tricky because there's definitely lots of room for error. So once I had it down, I did tape it in place. Now, normally, if you were embossing something, you'd use the adapter plate, but the foil plates are too thick for that. So I'm going to actually use one of the Glimmer plates on top. And I'm just going to try. So first I tried the Glimmer plate and a C plate. It was too much. You don't want to force anything through your machine ever. So then I tried the Glimmer plate and some of the shims. Now the universal plate system does come with one shim. The Betterpress comes with 3. I used the Betterpress shims. Then I tried just the C plate, and that was not enough pressure. And then the ultimate one that I found that worked the best for me was the A plate, the B plate, the embossing mat, so the E. You want to make sure that you're pressing down into the E, your paper, your Glimmer plate, and then the C and whatever shims you need. If you don't own the shims from the Betterpress, you can use cardstock. So then I wanted to try it with the Glimmer machine itself, right? If you have a Glimmer hot foil plate, chances are you already own the machine. So I wanted to try it this way and see if I could make that work. So just depending on, where you're at, like maybe you get a mystery box and you don't have a Glimmer machine, then you can use the method that we just used. If you do have a Glimmer machine, this way also works. So this way I did it where I didn't have to like ink it up and mess around with it. I was able to treat it like a Glimmer plate where I, tape the back of it. It is mostly transparent, so I'm able to see through it, lined it up on my paper. And then this time around, I used the hot foil machine base, the actual plate and the paper. Then I used the Glimmer topper, and I used my C plate and my shims, and this also worked. So if you have the Glimmer machine, you can make it work this way. If you don't have the Glimmer machine, you can make it work with just the universal plate system and your Platinum 6. So that made me really happy, because I do think as a whole in an industry, you're going to see people trending more towards just Betterpress plates and not the hot foil plates, because the Betterpress plates you can do both with. But there are those of us who have already invested in this and we already own it. So I don't want to not be able to use it. You know what I'm saying? So, and they both work really well. But do I think that the Betterpress system letterpresses better? I don't know if it Betterpresses or letterpresses better, but it is easier to get a good result. So then from here, because I had everything out, I'm going to start doing some other experiments with my Betterpress that I had wanted to try. First of all, see what is happening here. I can't get my finger underneath it to move my plate. Don't poke it with a metal tool like I did. See at the bottom where there's like that little lift, like a little notch cut out for you to lift it? Just lift it and that bottom portion will bend and you'll be able to get your finger under the plate. So don't do what I did. You can risk damaging your plate. So this panel, I actually ink blended and did some spatters and stuff beforehand. This is the peony plate, and I had not had a chance to use it, but I wanted to. So one, I wanted to see how it was going to press over a panel that I had already added ink to, like how opaque that ink was going to be. So I've inked this up, and for all of these, I've just used black. I have other ink colors, but I just kept it simple. And this worked really well. It was pretty opaque, and the nice thing about the Betterpress is you could do it again if you wanted to. When you Betterpress, I have noticed that you almost always have this leftover ink on your plate. And, typically we would spray it with stamp cleaner and we would go in and, clean it off. I wanted to see if I could get a second generation image from it, and I can. So that's something else that you can then use to, use your Betterpress with. I also wanted to see if I don't like wasting paper, and I don't like having a bunch of paper that's like already been die cut that I have to find a use for. So I wanted to see, could I successfully Betterpress my sentiments onto already die cut pieces and have them be successful so that I wasn't just wasting this paper where maybe my placement wasn't perfect, so it wasn't going to be useful to me. So I lined them up, I taped them down, and I am normally not a big proponent of putting tape behind the Betterpress plates because it can add an uneven amount of pressure, especially when you have such fine script as these you see in these copper plate style sentiments. I will say, however, that I didn't have any issues, that they pressed really well, despite the fact that I had a little bit of tape behind them. So that's something that, I'm glad to know that I can, if I have leftover, pieces, parts, that I will still be able to use them to, Betterpress or letterpress onto. Then I moved on to this one. This is also one of the large sentiments, and I have seen other people like double press, if you will, like double press. And so I wanted to see if that would work. And so this is the peony background that we've already pressed once with that second generation. And I wanted to see, could I then get a full strength sentiment over top of it, that was completely inked up and have it maintain both of the textures. And I am happy to report that that also worked really well. So I'll just set this aside for a wedding or a graduation or, you know, something like that. A promotion maybe. This one, these butterflies I've had forever, and I have not had a chance to use them, and I love them. So this one, I was just testing to see if I only taped one side of it, and I didn't tape the other side, you know, because I don't want to create that unnecessary pressure over, especially, again, we have something that's a little bit more detailed. So I only taped the left hand, which is like when we're looking at it, it's the left-hand side of the Betterpress when we flip it over. I only put tape there, and I didn't tape the other side, and it still worked beautifully. It didn't shift, it didn't move, it pressed really great. So now we're going to move on to like building out the actual cards. I had no idea I had no idea that I would have so much trouble with this. So typically when I'm making a lot of cards, especially if you've watched my channel before, you know that if I need to color a lot of things, my go-to is I have a couple of just very quick kind of coloring methods that typically involve distress inks or distress oxides that I can still get results that I'm really happy with. Somebody once told me that this cotton panel acts very similarly to hot press watercolor paper, and your girl does not like hot press watercolor paper. I like cold press. To me, it has more sizing and the water moves easier on a cold press, where with a hot press, it's more for like detailed watercoloring. And I just kept running into that all of my water was being absorbed and none of my pigment was moving. So I was getting pretty frustrated because the paper wasn't working like it normally did on watercolor paper. But remember, my watercolor paper is not, like my go-to is not 100% cotton. And this is 100% cotton. Mine is, will it tell me? I don't even know if it'll tell me. But anyway, the brand I use is the Monteval watercolor paper from Canson. And so this one I really like. I do think in the future I will try to see if I can get the letterpress look on this paper instead of using the cotton panels. However, you do whatever works for you. So this one, the technique was just going in and basically just painting them themselves. Really super happy with this one because it was so easy. Not the coloring. The coloring was hard. The coloring was hard with the watercolor. But getting the image was super easy. I would say this was as easy as stamping an image without having to do it multiple times. Honestly, I just did it. I inked it up. I did it once and was super happy with my results. So that is one of the cards. I am going to show you just like little snippets. It's just a little bit. This one, I decided that I was going to do like a full background, just, you know, wet the whole thing down because I'd already seen that it was challenging to get them to blend. So I put a ton of water on it, and then I went in with analogous colors that are next to each other on the color wheel so that they would all blend together. So I went from yellow to green to teal to blue. And you can see that even though I have so much water, I'm still struggling to kind of blend them. So this is just something that now I know this kind of quick and easy watercolor is just not for these porcelain or not for these cotton panels. I keep saying porcelain because that's the color I'm using, but they're actually just cotton panels. So once I finally got it to blend where I was happy with it, I did a little bit of spatters, and then I'm going to set this one aside to dry. So now I'm like, I'm not going to get the color blending that I want. So let's try something a little bit different. So I wet down this whole piece. This is one that we letterpressed with a hot foil plate, and you can see it worked beautifully. For this one, I am going to take my re-inkers, so very strong color, and I'm just going to drop them right on top of the water in the hopes that by adding stronger color and adding more water, I will get a result that I am happier with. Now, did that work-ish? It kind of did. And so I sprayed it down, got those, colors kind of moving, used my paintbrush to kind of help it along. And this was so saturated, and it's because I used the re-inkers. That was on purpose, that instead of wasting this ink, I am going to take another panel that I've already better pressed my image onto, or in this case, letterpressed my image onto, and I'm going to smoosh them together in the hopes that I can pick up some of that color. And you know how we always tell you, like when you watch card making videos, we're like, don't mix two colors that are complementary because you'll make mud. Did you see the mud that I made? It was so much mud. So in order to try and get away from the mud, I am going back in and specifically adding colors to where I want to kind of highlight. This panel that I smushed into it, I did not love. So I was like, well, let's try smushing it a different way. So I took my distress inks, I smushed them down onto my glass mat. I sprayed it with a ton of water. I sprayed my panel with a ton of water, and then I dipped it in. This one actually came out pretty well. With the ink smushing. So I think if I needed a quick background with these panels, this would be one of my go-tos. Once I was done dipping it and had cleaned it up, I did choose to go in and drop in more specific color, just like I did with the first one, except this time it's not really going to spread to the background. It's really going to be concentrated like on the flowers, on the leaves. It's not going to go all over like it would if we were using a cold press watercolor paper, which is what I am more used to. It just doesn't spread like that. So once that's done, we're going to move on to the next one, which is the border. This is the Sweet Blooms border. Again, this one is on sale. That summer sale is so good. But anyway, so this one, I wet it, and then I started adding color, and I just kept my water bottle in my hand. And anytime I needed that pigment to be like to keep on moving, sister, I just sprayed it with the water bottle. I just kept spraying it. I wasn't worried about how much water I was putting down because I was using pretty concentrated color. I was still getting really good pigment, and then the water was helping it move along. So this is another technique that I would do again. So now here's all the panels dry. Some of them didn't end up becoming cards for this video. Some of them just kind of got set to the side, but you get the idea. This first one, I'm going to go in and I am going to add some shading with my Copic markers to kind of all of the flowers individually. The thing is, that ink is like archival ink. You're not supposed to be able to use it with alcohol markers. But what I found was after I completely saturated the panel with water and then I let it dry, the ink did not run. Can you believe that? It didn't run. So here I'm just showing you how I get them to lay flat after they're warped from the watercolor. I put them in like a little sleeve of copy paper, and then I run them through my Platinum 6 with just the regular A, B, C paper C. And this flattens them right out without leaving any impressions because it has that protection from the copy paper. So just wanted to share that with you guys. So for this one pretty much is all like, it's already done, right? We've done the watercolor. We did the whole panel. The sentiment was already on there with the Betterpress. Super fast card. And that's when I just put on white, like, because my panel, I cut them a little bit smaller, and I just put it on, matted it white on white, and then of course I'm going to add like white gel pen and gems and all of that, but I mean, really, would you guys expect anything else from me? This one, to help that middle part kind of stand up, I did go in with a, what is this, a C3, I think? A C5 would also be appropriate. I just went in with a cool gray, so whatever kind of markers you have, a cool gray, and just did a little outline around it to help kind of pop it forward. For this one, I didn't love the background. It looked very muddy to me. And so in order to fix this one, I went in and colored in the background black. Now you could do some other dark color. You could do like a navy or a dark green, a plum. I just like the black, and this helps that kind of muddy look disperse, because we're only concentrating on leaving the color in the images. So once I was done coloring that, the sentiment for this one I popped up, and then I put that right over kind of the centerpiece, and now it looks just like it's a really pretty floral background. And later on I will add my butterflies and some gemstones. This is the one that we did the Copic coloring on, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put the thinking of you popped up in the center. This one I matted on foam over a black card base. This one's a little tricky because it doesn't have a die, and I wanted to cut out the border. So what I did was trace the plate, and then I just went in with my scissors and cut along the edge where I had drawn the line. And this is going to give me a pretty floral border to put down at the bottom. I did pop up the border and the sentiment, the Let's Celebrate sentiment, before I added some little butterflies and then some black gems as well. I don't know if their gems are part of their sale, but if they are good. They're good sticker gems. So here I am using this leafy background 3D embossing folder. This is one of my favorites. And that's because I have this leftover sentiment and these leftover butterflies that I've already done. So I'm going to turn this into another birthday card. Everything was popped up on foam. And then I did also, just to make the background a little bit more interesting, I used a clear glitter marker to add some shimmer to the raised leaves. Here's me adding just a couple of little white embossings. And if you've made it this far, I'm going to let you know that there is a little treat at the end if you are a person who's invested in my family. There's a cute, sweet little 3-minute clip at the end of this where you can hear Jelly Bean coloring. So anywho, these are all of the cards that we created. I think that a lot of these techniques are super fun. And just a way to expand the products that we have. You know, I'm a huge fan of that. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I always appreciate your time. The link below to check out the sale will be there if you're interested. And I will catch you guys on the next video. Bye. Were you good at school today?
Yeah.
Did you have a good day?
Yeah. I'll pick my balloon.
Well, I don't have a balloon for you to color.
No.
Here, you want to color these flowers?
Yeah?
Okay.
Sure. Can I have green?
Sure.
Okay. This one?
Okay, we gotta hold it. No, you don't take off both ends, just one.
No.
No, Caitlin, just one, otherwise we get it on our hands. Good job.
It's on the table.
Yeah, that's okay, Mommy will clean it up.
It's on your finger.
It is on my finger.
I'll use some blue.
Okay, we gotta put our green cap back on. Those are scissors, those aren't for babies.
I got it.
Okay, thank you.
I got it on my hand.
Yeah, Mommy will clean it up for you, okay?
I use some purple.
You need some what?
I use purple.
Oh, you're gonna use purple?
Purple!
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I was helping.
No.
No, you don't want my help?
No.
Okay.
It's on my finger.
It's okay, Mommy will clean it up.
It's on my hand.
Yeah, don't push down so hard, okay? We gotta be gentle with these markers. Good job.
I'm picking a flower.
Yeah, you're coloring a flower.
Where's Daddy?
Daddy's changing his clothes. Remember, he asked you if you wanted to go with him, and you said no.
Oh. Wow!
Such a good job. That's a beautiful flower.
That is beautiful. Where's Daddy?
Daddy's changing his clothes, remember?
Is Daddy making an Nathan?
No, Nathan's downstairs playing with his friends. Should we get a different color?
No, it's this color green.
This color's purple.
Yeah. This color's purple. No, those purple.
All done with purple?
Yeah, I got a red marker.
Do you want pink or blue or yellow?
I want probably red.
Oh, you want red. Okay.
It's theirs, not mine.
No, that's not Caitlin's. That's right. Good job.
Orange.
Well, it's red still. It looks different on the tip, though, but it is still red.
It's still red in orange.
It's still just red.
Right there,
Okay, remember gentle. Good job.
we gotta be gentle.
Yeah, we got to be gentle with the markers.
But what's that sound?
That's Daddy coming back.
I don't understand.
Daddy, I'm painting with Mommy.